Ladies and gentlemen, this is essentially an advertisement. For those who know me well, I'm Robbie Butler, the Director of Capital Markets for Y Street Capital. And the advertisement I'm providing you today is to be able to listen to our senior partner, Victor Minaj, returning to the live stage this Friday at 5 p.m. He will share some of the predictions that he shares very frequently on the Real Estate Espresso podcast with the live audience that attends. We'll be streaming on Facebook. We'll be streaming on LinkedIn as we are now. We'll be streaming on his YouTube channel. But that opportunity to be able to not only listen to his predictions in a consolidated fashion, all the way through to what he sees coming down the pipe in terms of the economic system and the currency, but to also be able to listen live is a critical piece of where any investor's capital placement is going. There's a certain piece of what has to occur when an investor is thinking carefully about what they're working on and the investments they're looking to make. You filter through, you view your whole life through the filters that your education and your experience has taught you. And as you are viewing your own experience and choosing where to place capital in the future, you start to realize that the key predictions that people make can make an outsized influence on you over time. And that experience of being able to know these are quality predictions and these are not quality predictions is an essential piece of the discernment that we learn as we get more experienced in making investments and in analyzing whether a project is a good fit for us or a fund is a good fit for us. But there's a piece of that experience that I'm excited to share with you today in advance of Victor's 5 p.m. Eastern Time stream on Friday, May 3rd. As you get a better filter, not only for finding and making your own predictions, but listening to other people's predictions, what occurs is your own thinking begins to sharpen. You begin to make better and more dynamic connections in between a prediction you hear in one aspect of the economy or perhaps the financial markets and another prediction. And the people who are willing to put themselves out there and to share the cohesiveness of their thinking that has created a certain prediction is what begins to take you from a listener, a passive receiver of different predictions, all the way to the more professional status of now being able to make your own accurate predictions of what's occurring in the economy, the financial markets, the economic system we live in. There are two predictions that have stayed with me for a very long time as I have grown in my own investment career and taken on larger and larger projects, been involved in more and more work. Two specific predictions that I'll share in this short little advertisement for our May 3rd, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time event. And both of them came from pretty early on in my investment career. I attended a 7-day real estate investor summit and listened to a woman named Danielle DiMartino Booth make some very specific predictions. What she shared was that she felt that the economic system, the system that we all live and work and play in, had a key function, or let's call it a key bias within it on its own, that in case of stress, as what we are hearing about in news sources like the Wall Street Journal, etc., that system would be predisposed to saving itself, even at the expense of the economy, even at the expense of the financial currency itself. The system, the economic system, would save itself over the currency, over the people operating using the currency, over any other parameter that exists within the economic system itself. As I sat back and absorbed that information that Danielle DiMartino Booth shared at this conference, I realized I had latched onto something that was essential for me to understand better as I continued to make my own investments and learn more about where to navigate through economies, through opportunities. If you think about that prediction, you realize, okay, anyone can understand that the system is prioritizing itself over the currency, over the users of the system. And yet that means you have to go and understand all the various facets available to a user of the system. You have to understand, well, why is it that the system would save itself more than the currency, such as the US dollar, more than the users of the currency? Why would the system exist to save itself in that way? And as I started to ponder that, it started to push my thinking into new channels, and I had to absorb more predictions about the currency, more predictions about how the economic system was built and how it was self-perpetuating, which is a key feature that I had to understand in order to get my arms around what Daniel DiMartino Booth was sharing. So that little prediction and latching mentally onto it to be able to understand it myself taught me so much more in the future after hearing that prediction. Going back to the central thesis of this call, listening to people's predictions improves your own thinking because you have to start to stress test one element you're hearing against another element that you're hearing. And so this random one-off sentence prediction that Daniel DiMartino Booth made pushed me to start to absorb more information from more resources in order to get better at making my own predictions. I mentioned earlier that I'd share two predictions that have stayed with me for a long time over the last, 3-4 years of consecrated learning along these subjects. The second prediction was made by one of my mentors, Russell Gray. And Russ said that as you look at currencies and you look at various currencies across the world, the US currency being, of course, the world's reserve currency, but then you get other major currencies available to people doing business internationally or trading foreign exchanges. You realize that as economic difficulties grow and the overall world financial system gets into trouble, as has happened numerous times throughout history, of a pattern occurs that is very observable. And Ray Dalio writes about this frequently. That pattern is similar to the Titanic. Titanic exists in an even-keeled fashion, and as a problem occurs, an iceberg is hit, a financial market explodes, and that ripple effect occurs across the world. The prediction and the pattern that's observable is that the ship starts to disorient. All those other world currencies, the little currencies, perhaps the smaller GDP countries, countries that have more limited services, begin to fall into the water. And as the ship disorients, as it continues to sink, the world's reserve currency and other strong currencies rise to the top. They literally rise in value. This was a prediction that Russ Gray shared that has stuck with me for a long time. That concept, that process of the strongest currencies rising to the top is visible in financial markets. And you can see that occurring in news articles. You can see pieces of that coming to the forefront right now. But the overall picture, when you back up to not just observe the currencies rising, you see that they're on a ship that is sinking. And even though those currencies are rising to the top, they will eventually hit the water, which is not a positive in the economic system as we experience it. This pattern has occurred repeatedly throughout history, and this prediction that Russ Gray made on a random public forum years ago has stuck with me. The whole concept here is, as you prepare to join us May 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to listen to Victor Menashe's predictions about what is occurring, what he's sharing on the Real Estate Espresso podcast every single day, being able to listen to predictions and improve your own thinking thereby is a key process that the best investors do at rapid iterations. They're always listening for, what's that high-level person in my network saying? How does it fit with what another high-level person in my network is saying? And how do I assimilate these together to form my own thesis? Once that thesis is formed for yourself, you begin to be able to step out into your own and share your own predictions with your network, with perhaps those who are benefited by your strong balance sheet. Those single elements of listening to predictions, pushing your thinking, and re-engaging at perhaps a higher RPM or a more productive fashion are essential to any investor. And so we're excited to have you join us May 3rd, this Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, to listen to Victor's predictions. Finally, as you start to take this more seriously, start to take the process of engaging with other experts' predictions, you start to look for how they formulated their thesis. Who's mentoring them? Who's drawing information? What's the domino effect of high quality data or high quality theses versus low quality data or low quality theses? And what are the various impacts on the people you listen to and the people you trust for their investing thesis, for where they're placing capital, for how they're operating in the world economy? as you start to seek out those predictions, you start to form better filters for being able to shake out bad information or perhaps low quality information in favor of high quality information. The classic example here is Yahoo Finance, still the most well read financial website on the planet, and yet it's available to anyone. No one pays for it. It does not automatically characterize itself as ultra high value or ultra exclusive, and yet it's the most widely read financial website on the planet. If any of you read Yahoo Finance, you'll see things that appear there that you might not agree with. And yet, for some people, that's routine. That's what they expect from financial news is the lowest hanging fruit of what's available in financial news. And yet you may be aware that there are so many other trusted sources to seek out. However, you have to filter. And that filtering process occurs best when you're getting enough high quality data to orient towards that data and away from lesser quality data. Please join us May 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube to be able to hear Victor Menashe's presentations on what he's predicting for the economy, for investments, for business in this current world environment. He shares those nuggets in small part on the Real Estate Espresso podcast, but we will get to hear him in thorough fashion and you'll be able to ask him your questions. Look forward to having you.